I might actually chug this glass of wine for this story. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I usually talk about geeky things, but sometimes I tell you guys stories about the reasons why I drink. So this is a story about my crazy former roommate. I have had a few roommates down the line, Cosmo being my favorite one so far. So when I first moved to the dorms, I had a roommate that I didn't meet until like a week after I moved in, because there was something weird about her situation, but we were fine. We weren't friends. We liked each other. We weren't like hangout friends. She kind of lived a different life, and second semester she moved out and on good terms, and we didn't hate each other. We did get frustrated because she had to live with me for 2 weeks when we both thought she was moving out right away, but the Bemidji was weird at the time. I don't know if they're still weird about that, but you had to live with your roommate for 2 whole weeks. We had lived together for an entire semester. Bemidji, we were fine, but at that point we started getting on each other's nerves because we had enough stuff for doubles as singles in our double. So we had a lot of stuff in our dorm for those 2 weeks. And then when I moved to St. Cloud, one of the friends that I met in Bemidji moved with me. Her name was Jess. She and I are still friends. She and I departed our roommate-ship on good terms. There was no animosity between the two of us. But the second roommate I had in St. Cloud, there's a lot of animosity between us. Actually, there's just animosity on my side because she's trying to get back into my life sometimes, and it's weird. I have talked about her before in previous videos. I've even said her name, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to say her name. So if you guys do enough digging around my channel and you do enough digging on Mission Otaku, you will find out who this person is. And so that's fine if you figure it out, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to say her name. So this is a girl that I had known for a very long time. The first time we ever met, we were at this mixer, if you can call it that, because we were a bunch of 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. We were at this mixer. It was the kindergartners going into first grade, and then the kids going into kindergarten, and we were all at this party together. And she was going into first grade, I was going into kindergarten. So by grade, she was a year older than me, but realistically, chronologically, by the calendar, she's only 9 months older than me. That becomes important later in this story. Fun. It's fun, guys. This is a fun story. Our very first interaction was she shared her cookie with me, and I decided she was gonna be my best friend for life. And whenever I tell the story about her, and I always start with that part of the story because I always tell people that was the only nice thing she ever did for me. We really didn't interact much in elementary school because there really was no reason to. There was no way, because she was a grade older. So we didn't really interact again until we got to middle school. When we got to middle school, it became very clear that as an 8th grader, she had no friends. And I felt bad for her. And I'm not proud of it, because you should never base a friendship off of feeling bad for somebody or feeling pity for someone. You should actually genuinely like them. Because that's the problem, is I never genuinely liked her. I just felt sorry for her and wanted her to feel like she had someone in her life. So I befriended her for that reason. And take it from me, never befriend somebody because you feel bad for them. Always befriend somebody because you actually like them. You actually genuinely like them. And if you ask anybody from high school and you were to bring up her name, and they would usually either roll their eyes or just shudder, because none of my friends actually genuinely liked her. We all just felt bad for her, and she sat with us at lunch, and we just befriended her for that reason. None of us actually liked her. So if you're watching this video, surprise, none of us actually liked you. So she sat with us at lunch through middle school and high school. And when I was getting into anime with Nikki and Shayna, she was, you know, the proper Christian girl. Now granted, I'm a very devout Christian as well. I don't talk about it much, but she was definitely one of those shove her beliefs down other people's throats kind of person. And she looked at anime as very, very satanic, which still to this day confuses me, because it's just cartoons drawn in Japan. But she looked at anime as very, very satanic. So she would always get really uncomfortable when we would talk about anime. She didn't like it. And so out of respect, sometimes we would stop, but a lot of times we didn't, because we liked talking about anime and we liked freaking her out. There really aren't a whole lot of stories about high school, just because, like, she wasn't bad in high school. It wasn't until she got into college that she became an abusive, horrible person. I mean, she was probably always a horrible person, but I didn't see it until much later in my life, looking back at all of this and realizing, oh my God, she was incredibly abusive and horrible. So she left for college when I was a junior in high school. And the only story I have from high school was when she was going to college, or she wasn't going to college yet. She was like in the summer between high school and college. And she was having trouble finding financial aid because she was not getting any scholarships. And I said, well, did you fill out the FAFSA? And she goes, no. And I went, why didn't you fill out the FAFSA? Because I don't want loans. Okay, well, you didn't get any scholarships. You guys don't have enough money to pay for this college, so you're gonna have to fill out the FAFSA and take loans. And she goes, no, God will provide. God will provide the money for me. How? How is God gonna provide the money? Well, he just will. So you think the money's just gonna magically appear in your wallet that you can just pay for college? You gotta meet God halfway. Like, you gotta actually do the work. You can't just sit on your butt and hope somebody knocks on your door and gives you money. Like, that's just not how this life works. And she goes, oh, you just don't understand. God will provide. Okay. Can God provide me the lottery? Because I'd really like that. I don't buy lottery tickets, but God will provide, right? That's really the only story that I have from high school. And obviously she must have eventually filled out the FAFSA. I'm sure her dad eventually forced her to do it. But so she eventually went to college, and we had 1 year of wonderfulness without her in our lives. And it felt good. It felt real good. When it came time for me to go to college, I ended up going to Bemidji State University my freshman year of college, which I've talked about before. And my friend Shane ended up going to the same school that she did. And it wasn't far from Bemidji. So it was kind of fun because I got to hang out with Shayna a lot. But when Shayna got her dormitory assignments, it turned out that this girl had requested Shayna to be her roommate. Which Shayna was like, I mean, I can deal with this. And I was like, all right, have fun with that. That sounds awful. And we laughed about it. And this was actually when this girl got into anime, was when she lived with Shayna. She had also found a boyfriend at this point. Why anybody would want to be her boyfriend? I'm such a horrible person sometimes. I'm not really horrible. This girl just is very difficult, so it's just very easy to kind of dislike her. So I went to Bemidji, and there was one time where I went to their college to go have lunch with them, and then we went on some kind of hike. It was me, Shayna, who eventually would become Shayna's boyfriend, who they eventually broke up. It's not who she married. Her eventual boyfriend's brother, this girl, and this girl's boyfriend. And we all had lunch together, and then Michael decided he needed to go get something from his dorm. Now, this was a Christian college. It was even in the name, Christian college. And so girls were not allowed in the boys' dorms, and boys weren't allowed in the girls' dorms because no hanky-panky until there is a wedding ring. We waited for him outside the dorm, and so this girl, however, she waited up on the stoop at the door, like at closer than I am to the camera, about as close as my microphone is to the camera. She was basically touching the door, waiting for him to come back, waiting like a lost little puppy dog, waiting for him to come back. And we were all kind of like standing there kind of in silence, looking at each other like, this is weird. Why isn't she down here talking to us? Like, we're uncomfortable with the situation. So he was done with school, and I don't remember how or why, because they were the same age, I think. Maybe he graduated a year before, but either way, like, he was done with school, and I don't understand how that happened. And he was going to move back to Wisconsin, which is where he was from. So she decided to get just a 2-year biblical certificate instead of graduating with anything that was useful in life. Like, not even an AA degree after 2 years. It was just a biblical certificate. It's not like she went into any kind of ministry of any kind. Like, at least if she went into ministry, I would understand it. But she literally gave up her education so she could go to Wisconsin, because they had been engaged at this point. And she gave up her whole everything. She uprooted her life, moved to Wisconsin, gave up her education, and went to go live with him. And mind you, like, this was also kind of not great on his part, because quite frankly, if I was in a relationship with somebody and he was going to give up his whole life and move somewhere for me, I would tell him, no, don't move anywhere for me. Move there for you. Like, I don't want you to resent me one day. I don't want you to move anywhere for me. I want you to make decisions for you, because it's never good to make decisions for somebody else, or in because of somebody else, because you eventually start to resent them because you regret decisions that you made. And we're gonna get there because she ended up doing that, but it's fine. Like, she was an adult, she can make her own stupid decisions, and she did. I know I've made my own stupid decisions in life, so hey. Anyway, we're not even at the story yet, guys. This one's a long one. I'm just gonna giving you a preface about who this girl was and how I started seeing all of these abusive traits in her. So I transferred to St. Cloud State University. I move in with Jess in our apartment. Everything is great. I'm on MSN Messenger, and she gets on MSN, and she goes, and this is, looking back, this was the first time I really noticed that she was abusive, because at the time I really didn't care about what she had to say, and so I never really looked at it as abusive. I just saw her as somebody who wanted attention, but at the same time, like, it was actually abusive because she was trying to get a rise out of me. She was gaslighting me, and she was trying to make me feel bad. Like, that's not okay. She was trying to exert power over me, so it was abusive looking back. But she gets on MSN Messenger and she goes, I chose my bridesmaids for my wedding. I was like, okay, cool. And I mean, I figured she would probably ask me because we've known each other for so long. We were such good friends on her end at that point. And then she goes, oh, and you're not one of them, okay? Was my reaction. This was obviously not enough for her, so she kept egging me on until I finally got upset. And not because I wasn't one of her bridesmaids, but because she was gaslighting me. And she eventually just made me feel shitty. And I finally kind of just lost it and lost my temper, and I yelled at her. And she goes, I'm so sorry you're so upset. I'm so sorry, but like, this is a decision that Michael and I made together, and I'm just so sorry you're so upset that you're not one of my bridesmaids. Like, that's not why I'm upset, bitch! It's not why I'm upset. It's the reason I'm upset is because you're a terrible person. Life goes on. Eventually, actually, one of her bridesmaids dropped out, and she then was like, oh, did you want to be one of my bridesmaids? I was like, all right, whatever. Good thing I never bought a dress, because one weekend I was home for the weekend, and I get a phone call in the 7 o'clock in the morning with her crying on the phone. We're like not super far outside of her wedding at this point. And she said, Michael broke up with me. He said he can't take my shit anymore. He doesn't love me anymore, and he doesn't want to marry me. I uprooted my life for him, and now this is how he treats me. And I am like, this is why you don't move places for people. This is exactly why. One of the reasons. The other reason is things do work out. You do get married, but then you resent that person because you made all kinds of decisions for that person, and you use that as leverage all the time. It's not a good situation to ever move anywhere for anybody. Then the kicker happened. And this is where the story gets to begin, guys. This is where the story actually truly begins. She said she wanted to move back to Minnesota. She said she didn't want to live with her grandpa, or her dad. So can she live with me? I have trouble saying no, making people feel bad and unwanted. I luckily had one scapegoat, and that was my roommate at the time. Even though at this point in time, we had decided to part on good terms, but we had decided to part at this point. I was like, well, I have, Jess to think about, so I have to talk to her, and we'll see. I'll let you know. I'll let you know what she says. So I get back home to my apartment, and I go up to Jess, and I'm like, so here's the deal. And I told her about this whole situation. She goes, oh, she sounds like she's really a person in need. So yeah, it's fine. We're only gonna overlap for about a month. Like, don't worry about it. She can move in. I wanted her to say no. But I also didn't want to tell her that I want her to say no, because I want her to actually be the bad guy. I mean, that sounds awful, but like, these two didn't know each other. There was no reason. They know each other now because they lived together for a month, because I can't say no to certain things. Or I can now. I've learned. I am much older now, and I have learned many things in my years since this day. So she moves in, and at the time, so Jess and I actually switched rooms, because at the time we had this understanding. So Jess got the big room, but I got the parking spot, and so we switched rooms because she knew that I was going to house all this girl's stuff. And so she's like, you need the bigger room, you need the bigger closet, like, let's just switch rooms. So we switched rooms. This girl didn't help with any of it. This picture right here was from that night where we switched rooms, and Jess decided to make me over with all kinds of crap we found in my bedroom. And you can see Yu Yu Hakusho on the background. She's watching Yu Yu Hakusho, not helping. We had some serious trouble with all of this, and she wasn't helping. She didn't bring any kind of furniture. She didn't bring anything other than clothes and her horrible self. And so there was really, like, small favors, right? Small favors. She didn't bring anything. And even when Jess moved out, she still decided to sleep on the freaking couch. There was another bedroom that became like an office. She didn't even move her stuff into that closet. she just kept her stuff in my closet and kept invading my space and my privacy. It was just a bad situation. Also, when she first moved in, we knew that she was going to have trouble, or she wasn't going to have a job. And I knew, because I knew her from the past, that she was going to have trouble finding a job because she always had trouble keeping a job. We kind of worked out this deal that Jess and I would continue with that 1 month of paying the stuff halfway, but that she would owe Jess and I a third of everything. And we worked it all out. And my mom and I had watched enough People's Court to know that, like, you should have everything in writing and signed for. So my mom and I wrote up this little thing, this little agreement for her to sign. And I kind of joked about it and made my mom the bad guy. I like making other people the bad guys because I didn't like confrontation at the time. And not that I like confrontation now, but like I'm much better with confrontation now because I'm not 19 years old. So, but she signed it and she understood. And so we went about our business. Jess moved out on good terms, and this girl, again, like I said, just decided to live on the couch. Didn't get furniture. Didn't move her crap out of my bedroom. She had a whole other closet and didn't do anything. Now, this is where the abuse really started to come in. So she eventually did find a job with Hollister. And if you know anything about Hollister or Abercrombie and Fitch, you will know that their CEO is a jerk. Horrible person. So these are important things to note about my physical appearance. One, I had lost 75 pounds at this point. I was at my thinnest, I was at my fittest, and I want to also make it known to you that while I felt good about my body and my body looked good, I have never liked my face. I have never looked in the mirror and ever thought I was pretty. Mostly because when I was a teenager, I had really bad acne, and then when the acne went away, I had early onset rosacea. And if you guys don't know what rosacea is, it looks like acne. It's not acne. Sometimes it's mistaken as adult acne. It's not. It's rosacea, and it's a skin condition that is not curable. It's only treatable, and the treatments are very, very expensive. And a lot of them are not covered under insurance, especially the ones that help take away the pain. But rosacea is very, very painful. In a lot of situations, like if you ever touch my face, it will feel like I always have a fever. And that's just because the rosacea just is constantly burning. It doesn't burn I don't feel it burning all the time because I've gotten used to it, but it is always burning. So understand that sometimes my face just really freaking hurts. And so I've never liked the way I looked, ever. But that's important because when I tell this part of the story, it's going to sound like I'm a super vain person, and I am not. I look in the mirror and I see a very ugly person because I hate my rosacea and I hate the way I look. And I need to go back to therapy. She got a job at Hollister, and she comes and she's like, "So I got a job at Hollister," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I hate that company, but okay." She goes, "You have to look a certain way to work at Hollister," and she gives me the elevator eyes. "You would not get a job at Hollister." This is why it's important for me to mention the fact that I do not think I am pretty, because I am prettier than her. I looked better than her. I was fit, I looked good, and I had a nice rack. I still have a nice rack. I still like my rack. That's the one thing about me that I do like, my rack and my hair and my eyes. I do like those things, but anything else, oh my god, I'm horrifying. Especially right now since I've gained pretty much all my weight back. So again, this was one of the situations where I was like really starting to understand that she was actually really, really abusive. And I was starting to not be okay with it. Another situation where the abuse really started to really make a lot of sense was when she and I went to Icon together in 2007. And we were on our way back, and she tells me, so we were both doing AMVs at the time. And like I've said many a time, I am going to have a bachelor's degree in film studies once I'm finally finished with school. She looked out of the blue in the car on the way home. She goes, "You know, I've been thinking about this, and you should really change your major." Why? Because I'm so much better at AMVs than you, and I just don't want you to make a huge mistake with your entire life. It's gonna be a 2 wine story. To be continued. I'm gonna get more wine. I got my wine. My second glass of wine. Actually, it's my third. But I drank a glass of wine before I started filming. So we left off with her telling me I needed to change my major because she's so much better at AMVs than me. Number one, yes, I want to be a filmmaker, but I am studying, well, I did study. I'm pretty much done with my major. One snafu with that, but that's different. My essential focus for my major was and is film history and film criticism. So back off, bitch. Plus making movies and actual dialogue and stuff, way different than making AMVs. So she and I get into this big argument in the car, all just because of the fact that she said these things to me. And mind you, I understood that there was a huge difference between AMVs and making movies, and that was kind of what I was trying to get across to her, was there is this huge difference. What the hell are you even talking about? But she just always needed to belittle me so she could feel better about herself. And that's what it really boiled down to. Our entire friendship on her side was mostly just about that fact, about the fact that she needed to feel better about herself, so she needed to belittle me. And I already have really shitty self-esteem, so I guess maybe that makes me a big target, a good target for people who really want to belittle me, but I think pretty lowly of myself, to be completely honest with you. I'm a pretty cool person, but I'm also pretty freaking ugly. So like I said before, she had this job with Hollister, and at some point her hours began to dwindle. So she has this medical problem. She would call into work sick all the time. So one day she just got really pissed off. She came home and she was freaking out. She didn't have any hours at work that week, and she just didn't understand why. And I looked at her and I go, it's because you're not dependable. And that made her explode with anger. She freaked the F out. She could not handle that. She goes, what do you mean I'm not dependable? I said, you don't show up to work. You call in sick all the time. And she goes, well, because I have this problem and it's just hard for me to go into work. I'm like, dude, it's a digestive problem. At the time I was just lactose intolerant. My stomach hadn't completely turned against me. I think I may have the same problem at this point. I just haven't gotten tested for it. Because my stomach is so weak at this point that it probably is IBS. But because when you're lactose intolerant, especially born lactose intolerant, you have a high chance of getting IBS. So there's that. I'm like, dude, I'm lactose intolerant. I get it. It sucks sometimes. But you know what? I suck it up and I go to work because I have bills to pay. And she freaked out even further. She got so angry with me. And then the conversation turned. Remember how I thought how it was important to know that she was a grade older than me? But by actual chronological order, she was only about 9 months older than me. What was it? 9 months? April, May, June, July, August, September. 5 months older than me. I take that back. She was 5 months older than me. There was no huge age difference, but she was 20 and I was 19 at this point in time. So this conversation turned into how I don't understand life. And so she just got so angry with me. She was upset. She was screaming at me and telling me that I'm just still a kid. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not a kid anymore. She goes, you still have the word teen in your age. You are still a teenager. I'm 20. You don't understand how life works, is what she told me. I better not need a 4th glass of wine after this. I usually draw the line at 2, so this is going to be interesting as I get further through this glass. So she tells me this, and I freak out. I get holy crap, are you freaking kidding me with this? Are you being real here? This is bad. I was so livid at this point. I told her that I knew more about life than she did. I've been through more than she has. That I actually understand what it means to work for a living, and she's never had to worry about it. And mind you, at this point, she has not paid a single bill. I have been paying for this 2-bedroom apartment. Granted, St. Cloud is a cheap place to live, so like it's not like it would be here. The rent there, after I had to, because that was after I signed the lease for the second year, because Jess moved out at the end of the first year. So the apartment cost $530 a month for that 2-bedroom apartment. So like looking back, it was like ridiculously cheap, like super cheap, especially living in the Twin Cities now for as long as I have. Holy crap. A 2-bedroom apartment now, like here, would be more like $3,000 probably. I don't know, I haven't looked at rent prices in a while. But still, I was a poor college student having to pay all of this by myself with the idea that she was going to eventually start paying her bills. She bought herself food. That is all she ever did. And we got into this big, huge fight over the fact that I was 19 and she was 20 because I had the audacity to tell her she was not reliable at her work, which she wasn't. You know, and that's what I tried to get across to her. I tried to explain to her, look, they're not going to put you on the schedule because they don't know if you're going to call in sick to work. Like, they don't know, are you going to call in sick to work or are you going to show up? They're going to put people on the schedule who are actually reliable, who they believe are actually going to show up to work. But she just couldn't get that through her head. She has never matured past the age of like 13. Like, I swear, she's a 32-year-old woman running around right now in the, like, with the mind of a 13-year-old. Like, I don't know who she is anymore because I haven't talked to her for years at this point. Since like 2011, I think was the last time we really like talked. But like, oh my God, I can't. I just burped while I was trying to drink my wine. It was an interesting experience. She never paid her bills, and I finally kind of had it, and she was ready to kind of move on. She wanted to go back to college, but we lived in a college town, so I don't know why she didn't just go to St. Cloud State University. That just would make sense. There's even a community college in St. Cloud, and there are other colleges around St. Cloud. There were Christian colleges around St. Cloud. You know, I mean, the guy I was seeing at that time, he was going to a different school in that general vicinity. So like, there are other schools. There were other schools she could have gone to. But she was really obsessed with Wisconsin. I don't want to like alienate my Wisconsin friends because, you know, I'm a Vikings fan. So like, obviously I have issues with Wisconsin. Her obsession with Wisconsin was very strange. But she also, I think, if I remember correctly, she actually had met somebody that she was convinced had a crush on her, and she was gonna go and try and pursue that. Never actually happened. She ended up dating a guy that I know that is a friend of mine named Adam, but he's now married to somebody else, and somebody amazing. I love Simone. I love her. And I miss those two. I don't get to see them anymore. It's been more than a year since I've seen them, and it makes me sad. She ended up leaving, and she still owed me money. She owed me a good amount of money. She lived with me for pretty much just the summer, so she only lived with me for like 3 or 4 months, but enough for me to never really want to talk to her again. But at the same time, she owed me money, so I needed to maintain some kind of relationship with her. So I did, and we talked over MSN and things like that. That following summer of 2008, holy shit, she had gotten this opportunity, and I don't remember where the opportunity came from. I don't remember what she was given. I want to say it was the plane ticket she was given. But she was given this plane ticket to go do this outreach thing in Florida for a summer or something. I can't remember how it worked, but she was going to go do this outreach thing, this mission thing that she was going to do in Florida. I'm sure that there was a hurricane that hit, and she was gonna go and help restore houses or something like that. I'm sure that that's what it was, if it's Florida. But I don't remember the specifics of it. But she still had to pay for a portion of it. Like, she had to pay for her room and board, or she had to pay for her flight, something along those lines. There was something that she had to pay for. So she started a Facebook group, because this was before like GoFundMe. So she started a Facebook group to ask people for money. She owed me money at this point. She still hadn't paid me anything at this point. So she had the audacity to invite me to it. And she asked me for money. So I immediately called her. And I tell her, any money you get out of this group goes to me until I am paid off. Then you can start collecting money for the rest of that. And she was offended. How dare I say such a thing? This is such a great opportunity for her. How dare I say such a horrible thing? If I were a good person, I wouldn't be requiring her to pay me back. I would be allowing her to go on this adventure where she actually just basically went to Universal and Disney World, as far as I understood on Facebook. And she didn't have to pay me back? What? And I'm like, Sarah, and I'm like, bitch, hello, hi, no. You have to pay me back. And I was standing my ground, and she goes, I'm not paying you back anything right now. Not until I've gotten all the money that I need for this trip. How dare you? And I said, fine, then I guess I will just take you to court. And she goes, what do you mean you'll take me to court? And I said, you signed a contract, and you are currently not living up to that contract. Therefore, I'm gonna take you to court, and I've already won. So she hangs up the phone, and I'm like, all right, fine. She hung up on me, whatever. I'll just have to figure out how to take her to court, because I've never taken anybody to court before. But my family knew how to do that. My aunt's a lawyer and all that stuff. So like it's not like I didn't have ways to figure it out. My parents owned a business for a long time. They knew lawyers. Like I could figure it out, and I wouldn't have needed a lawyer. I could have gone to small claims court, so it would have been a lot easier and a lot cheaper for me. Probably an hour later, I got a phone call from her grandmother. Very words out of her mouth are, a good Christian woman would never threaten to sue her friend. We going there? Okay. A good Christian woman wouldn't owe me this kind of money. So her grandmother asks me, so how much does she owe you? And I'm like, I'm not telling you that. It's not your debt to pay, it's her debt to pay. So I'm not going to tell you what she owes me. And she goes, fine, I'll just ask her then. And I said, no. She's going to tell you less than what she owes me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you what she owes me. So I told her what she owes me. And she was fine. I will pay you back. And I said, it is her debt to pay. She is never gonna understand how to live up to her own mistakes in life unless you allow her to pay this back. She goes, well, she can't pay this back. And I'm like, then she can't go to Florida. Like, come on. So I accepted it. I got the check from her. I did eventually get paid back, and I just kind of moved on with my life. And at this point, I decided she was not going to be in my life at all. And then she came back into my life. But that, I feel like, needs to be a story time all on its own. And that is what actually happened with GeekCon. Because GeekCon happened in 2 stories. But I'll tell it in one whole story, because one, it completely and utterly involved her. And then the other one didn't. And that was the one that happened most recently as to why I was let go from GeekCon. Well, I walked away / was let go. It's a complicated situation. But we'll get to that story another time. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever had a toxic friendship and if you got out of it, because I hope you did, because you should always get out of toxic friendships or relationships of any kind, even if it's family. So let me know in the comments below if you've ever been in a toxic friendship. I'm pretty sure everybody has, but that's about it. Don't forget to help out this channel financially if you can. The links to my Ko-fi and my Patreon are below. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week. I really want to get a 4th glass of wine, but I probably shouldn't. I will see you guys all next time. We all know I'm going to get a 4th glass of wine because I finished this one way too quickly. See you guys all next week. Bye!